All right, let's go to the season finale. You got Sunday Night Football, Bills at Dolphins. Bills favored by 3 on the road. The total is 50. Both of these teams outside the top 20. So both of these teams have been unlucky in the luck rankings. And the luck total is minus 5.7.
Yep.
So that's the second lowest. So, I mean, we saw that with that Detroit-Dallas game where you get a total over 50, and it's just tough to get there. Like, everything has to kind of go right. Any thoughts on this total? You think we could see a lower scoring game?
Yeah.
Maybe the market is projecting?
Yeah, because, the Dolphins play at a slower pace than I think people realize, and Buffalo's very run heavy, so it could end up being more of a, slower paced run heavy game. But after last week, I think I'm off Bills unders. That game had 20 points with negative 13 net passing yards at the time.
Oh my God,
bunch
yeah.
of fluky shit happened. I ended up hitting the in-game under and hit that, but man, that was rough. So I kind of have PTSD with that. But I do think that the luck rankings are kind of right here, that this game probably will be lower scoring, especially if it's over 50 right now.
All right, who do you like for the captain spot?
I'm going with Josh Allen here. And, he banged up his shoulder late in the Week 17 game against the Pats. So something to monitor. He's a gamer, though. I'm assuming he'll play right through it because it's a must-win game. So I think we're going to see more of a ceiling game from Josh Allen as a result. He's probably going to be even more willing to lean on his rushing ability if and when needed. And love him specifically in captain slot due to just how he's essentially the Bills' goal line back right now. He's kind of always been that way, but especially lately. He had 2 1-yard touchdown runs last week. So the QB sneak play that they have designed is really working for them. He has 8 rushing touchdowns over the last 5 games. So when your quarterback's doing that, it doesn't leave much touchdown equity for anybody else. So I love using him in the captain slot here.
Yeah, I'm going with Tyreek just based on, yes, the Dolphins want to win this game, but he also needs 248 receiving yards for the record and 283 to get to 2,000. So, there's always a chance that, he gets there. And I'm sure he at the beginning of the year, he said he was trying to get to 2,000. So he's definitely going to be aware. Obviously, the Bills defense, very good. They actually shut him down in the first matchup, just 3 catches. So it could be a little bit risky, but I actually like that. We'll see if Waddle can return here, but either way, like Tyreek in that captain spot, especially with, as you mentioned, Bills receivers aren't doing as much these days, so it's not as risky to fade a guy like Diggs as it were maybe a little over a month ago. So we'll go with Tyreek here. Who do you like for value?
I like Dalton Kincaid here. And last week he broke out of his mini slump with a 4-catch, 87-yard game. We saw his route participation rate jump up to over 80% again last week. And I think his dip in playing time recently could have been due more to his shoulder injury than it was Dawson Knox's return, who I believe he left the game for a bit last week. So that could have led to it. Again, I think that Kincaid will probably go back around to maybe 70%, but that's more than enough for him to begin posting solid numbers again on a consistent basis. So I'm ready to hop right back on the Kincaid train here, and I think he has a good game.
Yeah. Kincaid is like my tight end. He's like in my top 6 as well, just with all the guys sitting out.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Shakir here, though. I think he's interesting because, number one, it could be a shootout, still a total of 50. So, the more points Miami can score, the more the Bills are likely to use that 3 wide receiver sets. And I think he's an interesting pivot off Kincaid. I guess, I think Knox, I know he left with a head injury. I think he came back. I'm not sure. But if he's out, that's obviously even better for Shakir. But either way, I think Shakir will be somewhat of a contrarian play, especially if Knox suits up, just because, nothing really to hang your hat on with Shakir, but he's been solid over these last few games, still putting up, 3-4 catches each of the last couple of games. Before that, he had a couple of down ones. So I like the volatility. He got a rushing attempt last week, first one, 10-yard gain on that. So they have other ways to get him the ball. So he's a guy that shouldn't be too popular. And I think he has an avenue to a big game. Who do you like for dart throws?
We're going with a fullback here. Of course, I'm going with Alec Ingold. In a game where there's a ton of high end options, we probably need to go ultra cheap somewhere to save up and also to have, a unique lineup. So I think Ingold could be interesting here to have at least some flyers. He's always sneaky because he's essentially the Kyle Juszczyk in this East Coast version of the Shanahan offense under Mike McDaniel. So he's typically good for 1 to 2 catches a game, and typically they go for more than 10 yards. Usually he's running around on say 30% of Tua's dropbacks. So there's some potential for him to pop here, and he's usually good for 1 to 2 touchdowns a season. This year's the first season in his 5-year career where he doesn't have a touchdown yet. So he has 1 game left to change that. But it just goes to show that 1 in every, 10 to 15 games, he's going to score a touchdown. So that in that scenario, he's going to be needed to take down these GPPs. So whatever his rostership is, it's probably going to be lower than, the percent of the time he will end up in the winning lineup. So I think this is a spot where Alec Ingold could make sense to have in a couple lineups in some of these bigger GPPs.
Yeah, imagine this is the game. He just gets that touchdown. I mean, that would be big. But yeah, yeah. I don't hate it. I think especially with just so many, like there's the Bills have a fullback. They might they have a backup tight end. So there's gonna be a lot of different different guys like in that cheap range that people are gonna look at. So I don't think you should be too heavy on it either. I'm gonna go with Cedric Wilson Jr. Waddle could be back, but Wilson, even with Waddle and Hill active the last three games that they were both active, Wilson still ran around on 46% of the dropbacks. Both Waddle and Hill tend to check out of the game pretty more frequently than your average number 1 and number 2 wide receivers. Wilson's usually next up. He actually led the team in routes last week. So like him, and 57% of his targets have come when trailing. Miami is an underdog, so that could come to fruition. And he is tied for 4th on the team with 4 targets inside the 10-yard line. So has a good bet for a few different ways to score. You could see a lot of volume. You could get a 1 catch with a touchdown, something like that. So, or Waddle could sit and you could get a lot more playing time. So, like Wilson as a dart throw.
Yeah, and I think Waddle's expected to miss, right? They said he.
Yeah, probably. I mean, he had a high ankle, right? It's usually multi-week, so unless.
Yeah, and Wilson's been his direct replacement, so he's a great play. And we got to just throw it out there. Robbie Chosen or Chosen Anderson, whatever he's going by right now. Great dart throw. He's out there running routes. He's going deep, so he probably only needs 1 catch to break the slate. But Robbie Chosen's another great dart throw, I think.
Yeah, he's been playing over Craycraft and Claypool. So, yeah, like him as well. All right, that's going to do it. Be sure to check out the full list of luck rankings at actionnetwork.com, as well as all of our fantasy and betting content. And a reminder, our full player projections episode is out right now over on the Action Network podcast channel. Our fantasy preview episode where we break down the main slate is out right here on this channel. And don't forget about the Action Network Discord server. Link will be in the episode description. You can find Sean on X at @_oddsmaker. I'm at Chris Raybon, and we're at those same handles on the free award-winning Action Network app. Until next time, let's get this shmoney.